So we should use our time. We're using our time wisely today. And a few things I do want to pinpoint in those presentations that you will see closely on the exam. Now my screen went out. Okay, bam, we're ready to
Are
go.
you screen sharing? Can you let me know when you are? Because I really need to make sure I can see it this time.
Okay, I am preparing to screen share. I
Okay.
have not started yet. So let
Okay.
me pull this. Let me pull the behind the scenes screens up first.
I think I might still be on the app.
All this way off. 4, 5, 4. Up. I have multiple screens that we'll be sharing today. I am now Miss Erica, Miss Hill, getting ready to pull up one of those screens. And I don't want to pay again for that. Yeah,
Okay, I can see it.
you can see it. I just want
Hmm.
to reference, even though a lot of this is a self study, but there are critical areas I do want you to pay attention to in the chapter. So 4, 5, and 6. Okay. Um, as is stated, it's basic learning styles and principles. Initially, when we're going to be educators, no one has to teach you the craft. You already know the craft, it's already in you. There's a passion somewhere that's driving that. But we mainly have to teach the classroom management component. As we discovered on the last class, just discovering who we are, how we learn, and then it's going to also help us know who our learners are and how to teach those learners. And I always tell students, all because things have been traditional in some space, don't expect me to follow a traditional timeline. That's just not me. I don't do it. I'm usually discerning. The Lord tells me to do it, I'm gonna do it. But the way that I learn, I don't like things sometimes just always the same thing over and over. And I really didn't learn traditionally like that. I took the lesson and I adapted to how I learned, and you know, that's how I made it through high school. And even with right now, I'm studying AI, and I told a friend the other day, I said, hey, I'm not going to do another class right now. I'm going to pull back from my classes. And he said, why? I said, it's a lot of information and it can be overwhelming. So, what I want to do, let me take the information, apply it, find a way that I can apply it and build it. And then once I'm successful at that, I go back and I pick up something else. But I'm not going to repeatedly keep receiving the information and I'm not doing anything. It is not, I'm not learning, I'm just hearing information. So I don't work. I am just, not wired like that. So I said, I'm going to pull back, and I have a months. I probably had AI training since about June, June of 25, maybe before the summer of 25, maybe spring of 25. And that's me having a coach. And even before that, I saw a memory came up maybe a year and a half ago. I was teaching other school owners how to automate AI and orientation. And I'm like, okay, girl, you've been doing this a long time, just kind of just pelling around. It's time for you to put all this stuff together and really make some moves. So that's where I am. And I just had to learn how to pace myself. And so with these points I'm going to pull out for basic learning styles and principles, I want you also to look at those, and those are going to be key components of your exam. Okay. And so just looking at critical concept, to intelligence. you have to always look at that you'll probably always have in your classroom the verbal linguistic, which means those that want you to explain it to them. They're good with words. Okay. They're good with words. We have to always portray that. We don't know who's sitting in the classroom, so we have to speak. And anytime that you're speaking, you are channeling that verbal linguistic learning style. Okay. And so also that learning style is also a teaching style. So you may have somebody that you're scared to teach in front of a classroom, or you're scared to speak. Sometimes they call it stage fright or speaker's remorse or something of that nature. But as a teacher, one of your jobs is to speak. And so we got to find ways to kind of get over that. Do either one of you guys speak for a living? Have you guys did a speech, or are you a speaker? Have you had to do a presentation in front of someone before? Or recently, the last 30 days? I'm going to ask that.
Yes, I have.
Yes. Okay. Great, great, great. Do
Um,
you have butterflies, Ms. Hill? Do you have butterflies?
Well, this one was different. I'm a speaker, but I like to speak from the top of my head, whatever I come up with. I was actually an MC for Dr. Martin Luther King program, so it was a little bit different because I had to go by the program. So
Okay.
I like to freely speak when I speak.
Yeah, you like the organic component of it. Okay, okay.
Yes,
And you probably have people saying, "How did you do that?" It's natural. It's something you can't
yeah.
it's just, that's
But I mean,
good.
I have people tell me that I did great, and I've been getting so many phone calls just to MC funerals and church events, and I'm like, nah, I don't like that. But
Well,
let me just be me.
you know what? I'm a church admin. I'm very active in my church. And last night, let me share something with everybody. And then Miss Erica, I'm gonna ask you, have you spoke or had any speaking engagement or emceed anything in the last 30 days? Um, I'm the church admin, and I challenge myself for the month of February. Y'all can join me if you want to build something every day. So I've invested so much into AI. I'm forcing myself to take what I've learned and build something new every day. So every day I build something. My pastor calls, said, "Hey, I have an idea for Bible study. I need a presentation." He shot it. He shook over or sent over the details. And first I was saying, I could build this in 10 minutes, but I got that confidence from knowing how to do different things on AI. I said I could build this in 10 minutes. But then I said, no, let me put some of me in it. So take a little bit more time, move some of his words around, find better words, and put it together. And I sent it back, and he said, "So, are you gonna be able to work the dashboard?" I was like, kind of want to go see mama, and this computer just doesn't work where she is. I said, well, okay, I'm gonna work it because I thought about with Matthew 6 and 33. I said, okay, I'm gonna do this work for the Lord, and then I go see mama afterwards. Y'all, I did not know that he said, I'm going to swing it back over to Sister Cox. I was like, what? I'm in the background, no camera, just like hitting the button for him to go next. And he swings it back over to me. And I said, you know what? That ain't no matter with my pastor. And I had to do the Q&A component of it. And he called me. He said, oh my God, yes, we're a great team. I was like, ha ha, off the dome, did not know what I was doing, but I thought about you guys. I said, I guess I'm just gonna do it like it was just my students. So had a whole game show just off the top of my head. And I said, you know what? That's what Lord senior ministry leaders just put you out on the spot. On the spot. So yeah, it happens. It happened last night. Miss Erica, what was your experience the last 30 days? Did you have to present something?
I have not had to present anything in particular in the last 30 days, but I talk to people, I communicate every single day
Mm-hmm.
with my job and on the weekends with my clients. I would say probably the a speaking engagement. I did speak at church, but that was years ago. But here in the past 30 days, no, just normal conversational type of, you know.
Conversation. Okay.
Uh-huh.
And that's good. You know what that, you know why that's good? Because it brings reality. It is you're touchable at the point of you're not you're conversational, and so students can relate. And so one thing I had to do, people always ask me when I'm out of town teaching, and they say, "Where are you from?" I said, "Well, I'm from Memphis," and they said, "No way, no way, no way." I said, "Now look, I know Memphis could get a bad rap, and we really don't sound as country as y'all make us sound on TV. But what I found is I stopped telling people where I was from. No, I'm not ashamed, but you're not going to prejudge me from where I'm from and cause me not to get an opportunity. Or I had to get a manager in out of New York, and when we talked contracts, they really didn't think I knew what I was talking about because they said, "Oh, you're from Memphis and you're from the South." No, 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 no. We're going to come back and we're going to have a verbal conversation. And just being able to articulate your wants and things of that nature. So that helped me in the classroom, on stage, wherever you're going to go, is just being able to speak clearly, to pronunciate, being clear, because I had to pull those tricks out, those and learn those skills as I was moving about trying to build a career. Just simply because people just did not think that you were capable of understanding or teaching because of where you were from or your lack of skill. So I just continues to practice my verbal skills, my introduction, so on and so on. And I had some videos that I used to watch, and I used to watch the videos from Apple founder. Okay. What was his name? The guy who founded Apple. Um,
Steve. No.
Steve Jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So Steve Jobs. If you go on YouTube, you say, okay, I want to and look at Steve Jobs Apple presentations. I use his Apple presentations and I will mimic my classroom or my if I had to do a speech or graduation speech or something, I would mimic those presentations from Steve Jobs. He was very casual, he was relaxed, he walked the room, and that's where my teaching style, as far as presentation comes from now. I walk the room. He walked his stage. He presented life changing information, but was very calm. And everything he presented changed the way that we do life. Okay. So, especially with an Apple and an iPhone. And I say that he's not God or anything, but the device that he was updating, it was a world changer. That iPhone, Apple, anything was a world changer. And so he presented that information that changed the world very casual. He had light sense of humor, but he was a beast when it comes to business. He didn't care how emotionally how anybody felt. Okay, when it came to business, and so I don't have that particular trait, but I did study his delivery. He had an amazing delivery style. And so even in us building up our verbal linguistic and our logical mathematical skills and building those intelligence as an educator, we need to also look towards what ways can we build our own selves up, because everything that built me up I could use in the classroom. So yes, you're going to be speaking in front of people. Okay, yes, you're going to be delivering information that's life changing to them, but that information has to be delivered in a place where they can understand it. Anybody in your audience can understand it. So the biggest intelligence that we're going to teach out of anything and that we're going to develop within ourselves is the verbal linguistic. You have to be able to explain yourself. Explain your views. Okay. And then also the logical mathematical component. And here's where that comes in. Our logical component is the understanding, because you still may have a student that, they're great, but it just has to make sense. It just has to make sense. That's your logical component. So when you're teaching, yes, we know that relaxers can be caustic. Okay, it is a chemical. It can be caustic. It's so, and there's a divide now: chemical relaxers or natural. There's a divide. Our job is to, if we are presenting, teaching chemical relaxers, we need to teach all parts of it. We need to sit in the seat of the person that says they don't like it, because that question is going to come up, and you got to be able to give your student guidance, whether they choose yes or no. You got to guide them. There are so many things that you may not agree with, but you got to guide them and let them make a decision. So try not to be so emotionally attached to information, but our job is to present it, and then we have to present logical presentations for them for understanding. So it has to make sense. That's why I said I can teach truck driving and don't have a truck driving license. And honestly, I built a truck driving school, y'all, just to see if I could do it, because I was helping somebody else open up a truck driving school, and I just tried it for myself. And the people gave me a certification. I said, they are messed up, and I ain't got no one truck. Ain't got no one truck. But guess what? I can teach it. I can teach it. And somebody was telling me about their husband, and I said, you know what? He needs a school. My answer to everybody's problem, poverty, everything, you need a school. That is the language. And so I said, hey, we can do that. We can absolutely do that, because if we're teaching, if you learn learning styles and you learn teaching styles, it doesn't matter who's in the classroom, but as long as you got the information they're supposed to learn, you could teach it. I could teach someone how to drive a truck in a virtual classroom, and I don't know how to drive a truck. You may say, oh, Ms. Costa, what are you doing? You got to know. I'm not responsible for the practical component. I'm responsible for the understanding, the intellect component. And that intellect component is going to come together with the visual, whoever's over that part, and boom, you're going to have learning. They're going to come together. Okay. But as educators, we got to be able to break things down where it's logical. They can understand it, not overcomplicated. Okay. And then when it comes to mathematical, with me, I'm flat out a mathematical learner. Okay. I count money well. I count money well. I also, a mathematical learner, can count money well. They also can count stuff up in their head real quick. I was not the best in math in high school. Just had so much stuff going on. I didn't understand it. It didn't click. Math didn't come along till later, when life came along, that didn't want to be cheated out of stuff. But I learned that I'm a mathematical learner, because this is a part, you can give me a to-do list and you can walk away. Guess what? Destiny is going to return to you. The to-do list complete. You give me a task, it is going to be completed. You give me instructions, procedures. All of that falls under mathematical learners. All right. So you will have those students that say, can you just give it to me in steps? Your response is yes, and let me go and find a procedure. Okay. And once you see that procedure and you give it to them, so everybody can't take a shortcut. You're gonna have to give it to them just like that procedure. And then they start to say, something is clicking, because they're going by step by step by step. People sometimes are just processed like that. So as an educator, we got to make sure we're giving a logical understanding. And when it comes to procedures or task lists, lesson plans, we have to follow them. Okay. So we're touching this every day with the people in our classroom, the people we work with, even in our homes. So that's something you're gonna have to touch every day. Let's go over this, and then we're gonna prepare to move. Our role, being a facilitator of learning. This means A lot of times the facilitator, when we used to do, I used to train my team, and we're going to go into a classroom and we're going to teach hair color at a hair show. I would train them and say, I need 3 people to work this classroom. They would say, okay, 3 people. One is going to be the facilitator. You engage the students, you engage the learners. Second, the second person is going to be the platform artist, the one that is going to do the hair, that's going to woo the audience. And the third person will be positioned in the front of the class by the door. They're the ones that's going to give the order, the organization of the class. That's all I need. Every classroom, if you think about it, has if you go into a trade show, it's going to have someone that's going to greet you in the front, that's going to give you that first impression, that's going to get that order, where to sit, somewhere you can go to for questions. Then you will also have the platform artist or the educator that will also act as the facilitator. But most times when you have product companies, you will have a facilitator that knows everything about the class, everything about every product, everything about every ingredient. In your classroom, you are the facilitator of learning, which means when someone comes in, and they will come in, that think they know more, you're going to have to reiterate that you are the facilitator of learning. So sometimes there will be challenges. And so you'll have to come in and say, well, in this class, I'm the facilitator as the educator, and I'm preparing you and what you're paying for. Sometimes you got to reiterate that I'm the teacher in the classroom. Keep it nice, but it needs to be in a way that they know who's the teacher. That's why the teacher cannot mimic and blur the line of friendship too much with the students, because once it's the friendship, you really can't tell who the teacher is in the classroom. So as a director, I always wanted to see the educator, the facilitator, set aside then the students. If the student's uniform is all black, I don't need the educator in all black. What makes the educator set out? What do y'all think? What would set the educator apart? If the student uniform is all black, what could the
So
educator?
attire, white maybe, like a white jacket or, some kind of,
You're
do you
right.
mean as an attire?
They could be in their professional clothing. They're definitely their attire. You can say educators can wear professional clothing, or
Mhm.
you're gonna
Yeah,
have to.
that's what I was gonna say too. Professional clothing and the students in their like uniform scrubs or something like that.
Mhm.
Exactly. So when you go into that room, Miss Hill, you already know who the leader is. I already know who the leader. So, and this was another thing instilled in me from my oh my goodness, Mr. Biddle. He's a legend here in Memphis in Tennessee, but he was tough on me as my instructor, my senior instructor. And honestly, Mr. Biddle made me do all his work. And they didn't have copies and AI and printers and stuff in schools like they do now. She said, they're getting 100-question test and I need you to write the test. And I literally wrote the test on notebook paper
Oh, wow.
out of the book. I didn't have no curriculum book. And then he copied it and gave it out. I was like, I just did all his work. But I really give him honor every time I see him, because if it wasn't for him just constantly breaking my bad habits and making me go that extra mile, I wouldn't be where I am. I wholeheartedly think he had something to do with me getting where I am. So I always give him honor when I see him. And I needed that. Sometimes you need the hard stuff. But and he said, well, that's what you're gonna have to do in your class one day. Like, man, he caught me on the clinic floor just lollygagging and sitting down with the students and got me together. And that is why I have a strong fact. And I do understand, if you're all sitting on the clinic floor, I got to know who the educator is. You come in, I don't know who the educator is because you've cross mingled with the students. And so that, if anybody works for me, that's one thing that is always a red flag. And I said, I don't know. We're gonna have to nip it in the bud really quick, because I need educators to, when they say stand on 10, be confident without having the having to have students to make them comfortable. We don't come to make friends, we come to teach, you know? And we don't come to be mean or rude, no intention. I just come to do my job and come to teach. And we just prefer to know who's the facilitator in the room. And so you have to stand out. And so for those individuals who are shy, but I want to do this, I want to do that, hey, you have time to build. And so watching videos, and I even went to a class. What was the name of this class? It was an improv class. They're very popular now, but it was an improv class. Somebody suggested an improv class for me, and where they would just give you a topic you have to teach, or somebody will say something you'll have to follow up. And it helped me be real quick with it. Okay. And so that's all it did. It helped me become comfortable around people and be kind of quick with it. And naturally, I think I'm a little funny, so I bring that to the classroom because I don't mind. Sometimes you just got to be the one that caused the laughter, and everybody else will follow up behind that. You want to be the learning catalyst, which means you want to bring the new exciting stuff to the classroom. If your students are the ones, if you're teaching something that's outdated, you're going to lose your classroom, because these students was handed electrical devices, technology, to stop them from crying at I don't know what age. They were handed these devices to make them be quiet. They was handed these devices, and some of them started school at 3 years old. They are smart. My niece is 7. She's one of the smartest young ladies I know. Okay. And so there's knowledge present, especially with AI and everything. If you don't seek the fresh, relevant information, you're going to lose them. Okay. So you have to be the learning catalyst, which means you have to bring the best of the best when you step into their classroom and information. Okay. And so many people, I remember educators were hating YouTube. Oh, it's not beauty school, baby. Who cares? I just found YouTube ain't going nowhere. Some people are dead and gone, and YouTube is still here. Okay. And so even though YouTube is a part of their life, TikTok is a part of their life, you have to figure out as an educator, how can I use it as an advantage? Can I use YouTube as a form of homework, research? Can I build things in them and tell them to go find it in these areas? So sometimes we have to just say, how can I build that in? Because it isn't going anywhere, instead of just saying, acting like it doesn't exist. And I have seen educators literally, I just had to hold my head down, not be prepared and just constantly presenting old stuff, and that they lost their classrooms. Not saying they got fired, but when the student interest is gone, it's hard to bring that interest back up. You have to change the teacher in the classroom. You got to change the environment for the students. So that's just, so you want to make sure you have the most relevant information. You want to make sure you're bringing the most relevant information. How do we do that? You never stop learning. So always take a class. You always see me at a show. I'm going to tell you this about me. Every quarter, I'm somewhere. I'm somewhere. Even if I'm going to a trade show, I'm teaching, doing what I got to do, but then I'm becoming a student. I'm sitting in somebody's class. I'm learning something, because 9 times out of 10, I want to bring that back to my classroom. Every May, I go to Dallas for the skin show. I go to Dallas because I wanted to bring my esthetician something back. I wanted to be at the top of relevant, bringing in the most relevant information. The top of the year, between January, February, and March, I go to a show. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know if I'm gonna end up in New York somewhere. I know I gotta go to Houston. I don't know where I'm going, but I gotta go somewhere. I was going to go to Atlanta for a business conference. I was volunteering at. That was going to be it, but I got to get somewhere by the end of March. Then April, May, June is usually easily because you have people popping out with summer shows. And so it'll be easy to find educational events, but even if it's a podcast, even if it's something, try to have some kind of training that you still redefine yourself, because that fresh information is what's going to keep the students interested in the classrooms. Learning styles defined, with us learning who are those individuals. When we make our lesson plan, we need to touch at least 4 learning styles, which means you got to touch the student that learns just by visuals. You got to touch the student that learn with background music, their rhythm. You have to touch the students that need to stay busy. Yeah, you have to touch the student that says, hey, I need you to break that down for me a little bit more. You got to touch at least 4 people, 4 different learning styles every time you say class and session. And so for us today, I never want to do a class without a PowerPoint. If we're on any kind of visual virtual classroom, I'm going to make sure I'm doing a lecture that's logical. And then also I have color on my screen. I have a PowerPoint. And so that is the breakdown. That's the logical component, and that is the visual component. Okay. I need to bring something in with some music. And if I have a class, I'm gonna say, I'm gonna go. I have a song that I go to. I'm usually a Southern soul, worship music, old school R&B. I can be a little Memphis gangster girl too, but and I like a little country. I like jazz. So my playlist is a little bit of everything. But I had a continuing education class. No, we were in. Let me see. Jazz. We were in a status class, and my students, let me go back. We were talking about treatment room. Okay. And Miss Erica, you're probably familiar with this. We were talking about treatment room. And I was telling them, I was like, you have to, touch all senses when they come into the treatment room. So before they even say anything, you should be ready. That prep time is getting your treatment room together. I said, so what are you going to do with sound? What music would you have playing in the background? And when I tell you, they were some, um, it was some Cardi B and it was some Glorilla, but anyway, it would have made you jump off the table. So I said, okay. And they didn't like the spa music. I said, but okay, we're going to have to do something. And I pulled up some jazz and they was like, what is that? I said, see, you got to also be open to different genres of music. Okay. And I introduced some jazz to them, and they were like, okay, we can do that. And so Gregory Porter became added to the playlist on that day. And of course, Mary J. Blige, Charlie Wilson, they were kind of always on the playlist, and we just did a rotation of music because it was just that feel good, light, family fun music. And then there was jazz that we would introduce. We agreed to just keep jazz on in the treatment room because of having low tempo and just explaining to them about rhythm and low tempo. And students that actually said, I need to have some music on, it helped them learn their steps as they practice. So I didn't have a problem with that. And they said when I have the music on in the treatment room, I it's like my facial, my steps are easier. Everything come together. At that time, I knew that my student was a rhythm learner. Okay. So every time I saw her, I made sure I had some music on or something in the background while I was teaching, just to make sure that that rhythm was actually a part of her learning. Okay. So that is one thing too. And then analytical um, presentation style is analytical presentation style, which means in our presentation that you explain everything. Okay, so you ever been a shortcut type person? This is the time to just kind of will it on in and be. You got to be able to explain everything without kind of like boom. One of the biggest things Monday state board meeting, Tennessee, was when they talked about should we still keep. It was an argument about virtual and synchronous and asynchronous, and that is with a teacher or without a teacher. And I was telling them, I was like, you can't change the law. The board only has the rules, only has the ability to change the rules. This particular course, this particular regulation came through a law. And so we can't change laws. I'm not on the board, but I'm always there as a watchdog. And so they said, oh, you can't. I said, no, you cannot change the laws. You can make rules to amend, to follow out the law. And they did not want to have asynchronous and synchronous together, which means there are so many institutions pushing for students to learn online without a live instructor. And they didn't want that to happen. I say it's happening anyway. People can get whole degrees online without an actual instructor. But that was a big, big thing, is making sure that they can get everything that they're supposed to get, whether there's an instructor present or not. And so when we do our instructions, whether it's virtual or whether it's in person, we have to make sure that we understand the information first. And then we practice how to share that information with the students. Yes, you will need practice on how to teach and transfer this information to students. All right. And so that's where the resources come in to help you learn. All right. And so looking at this, retaining information, 10% of what we read. So we don't want to tell students to just read the book. Okay. We also do not want to read the book to the students. Actuality, the Department of Education does not like, if you have a NASA accreditation or any kind of school accreditation, with an elevation of evaluation of learning styles and teaching styles, you are not supposed to read out of the book to the students in the classroom. Okay. You also are not supposed to ask them to read because of, issues with students having literacy issues. So, yeah. So we gotta have assignments. We gotta have other activities like Ms. Hill had the other day to keep her class going, so you can reiterate the lesson and the lesson and the lesson. So we giving them reading assignments. They only remember 10% of that. Then the lecture component is 20%. That's a little better. And then what they see. So they do need some demonstration, 30% of that. Okay. So add seeing and hearing. All right. So teaching and doing at the same time, that's 50%. They're definitely going to catch that. And 70% of what we say or write. All right. So this is why sometimes when I'm doing a quiz, I have no paper. No paper. No paper, no paper, no paper. When I'm doing a quiz, I have no paper. But what I do have, I may tell them, I split them up into groups and tell them get to the board. I tell my students a lot to get to the board. And because I want to get that 70% in and 90% of what we teach. So we are the key components. All right. And so finding different ways for them to do stuff and to be active. So it doesn't work for you to tell them, open your book and read this and I'll be back in an hour. Or for you to open the book and don't say nothing. This is what y'all gonna do. And they're like, hold on, we could have did this at home. Which is another reason why I don't give homework that include them reading and just reading chapters. There's assignments attached, so it should be a due. Every time you ask them to read something, it should be a due attached to it, and assignment attached to it. Okay, and so that's what I wanted to share with you. And then this factor here, and we're going to move on. 8, intelligence identified. You're going to see this a lot, but for Miss Erica, who's just come on, verbal linguistic, what I was talking about, bodily kinesthetic. What this means, you may have a student who, honestly, or a person who's a hugger, the touchy feely, okay? They're a hugger. And so for me, I'm a hugger, but I have to be cautious and ask people, is it okay? Or sometimes I let them come in for the hug and I'll be like, whoo, I'm so glad you hugged me. I wanted to hug you too. But I'm just like, I hugged somebody one time and I thought we were like, it's kind of like women stuff. I thought we was like really cool, but they didn't respond. It was kind of cold in the response. I was like, wow, I'm never hugging her again, because what did I do? That's what I walked away with. I was like, oh my God. So I have to watch how I respond, but that's how I respond all the time. So it just made me say, everybody may not be a hugger. So it's not going to stop me from hugging, but I'm just going to be watchful of certain people. You never know what is going on. So you may have students who like to hang around, real clingy to you or to friends, and they're always just hanging on each other. Fine. You do have to have classroom management with that. But this person also is touchy on items. They're kinesthetic. They're bodily touchy on items. This person, if they're in your classroom, they probably pull their phone out a lot. Okay. So they probably pull something out, or they're touching something. They're putting something with buttons while you're teaching, or they're doing something, fumbling with their hands while you're teaching. It may seem like a distraction, but it's not, because these students could tell you everything you said. Okay, they can repeat everything you said. So it's like the touching, the being kinesthetic, or having something going on with their hands helps them receive the information. So just identify if you have these. Even in my adult classrooms, when I'm teaching teachers for Tennessee, I have to teach them to renew their license. And if we're in a big classroom and I have maybe 40, 50 people in, and I'm going to sit them in groups, but every table, I'm going to have a bowl with some type of Lego puzzles. You can buy on Amazon these little sticks, and you can pop them together and make anything from little houses, little bikes, little neighborhoods. But y'all, they are kiddie tools. They're preschool, kindergarten tools, just toys. And I would put them in a bowl, and I would just let them, it's for anybody who needs to touch something. You will be amazed when the lesson is over. When I look at some of the barber instructors, and they built whole bikes and families. But guess what? They can tell me everything I talked about. So I put that there because if they get their phone, I don't want to get into it with an adult about their property. Okay. So that'll take away from the class. Class is ruined. Everybody's in a different direction. So I'm going to put something in the middle, and I'm going to tell them that's for the people that can't keep their hands out their pocket. That's for the people that can't keep your hands off your phone. Let's try this. And that really helps. And if you don't have that, there's stress balls that you can use and place in the classroom as well. Those little cubes that turn till you match them up. Those are great things to put in your classroom as well, because that person is going to always need something in their hands. The logical mathematical person, of course, you got to break it down, but be prepared. If you're showing somebody how to do a facial, be prepared to put it in first. This is what you do. Next, this is what I want you to do. Lastly, okay, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps to the facial, or pull it in bullets, however you put it in. Those individuals are going to need some further instruction. And once you give that to them, they're going to follow those instructions. Visual people that says, I got to put my hands on it. Can we work on mannequins today? Can we work on clients? Okay. This person also would be great with video. This person, the next person is musical rhythmatic. And so those individuals that need some type of music, always dancing, bring the fun in. I want to know what their favorite song on. And when I'm trying to pep the classroom up, I'm gonna put that person's favorite song on and they're gonna entertain everybody. And once I put that favorite song on, I'm say, okay, let's get back to work. I do another song once we finish this. And you will see your students do more work than they ever did because they are ready to put their song on. Okay. Interpersonal and intrapersonal. This is people that work well in groups or individuals who work well by themselves. If you work well by yourself, I'm not forcing them in a group. Long as you know you're responsible for all of the grade. And you have people who will say, I would rather just be by myself and be responsible for my own F. I've had students tell me that. So it is totally fine. Then I have students I know need a push. So I will put them in a group and it'll help improve their grade. Okay. Then you have our naturalists. These are students that love plants. I'll make sure plants are in the room. I'll make sure natural light, as much natural light as possible. Any assignment in pleasant weather that we can go outside. We talk about nutrition, the helping assignment, communication for success. We even did scalp massage outside. We did a mannequin massage marathon outside, roller set competition outside. We've done a permanent wave outside because of the smell, but it'll help those people who need some sunlight. And so that's your naturalistic. You have these students would rather sit up on the tree and get them a book. But you can't cater to one style, verbal, and not cater to the rest. That's how we end up losing a lot of our students. So they would say, I didn't learn anything. It is not that you were not teaching, but you never tap into how they learn. So we have to be, very cautious of that. So I just wanted to put that there and give an opportunity for discussion. What do you guys
Yes, I
have?
have a couple of questions. I didn't know. I'm excited. Okay, so you're really making me. You're really opening my mind to, because I have an 8-year-old, and I noticed that when I'm teaching her and helping her with her homework, how fidgety she is. And it frustrates me because to me, that's like you're not paying attention to what I'm saying. But you're making me so excited because I'm like, maybe she's that bodily kind of, and I never really realized that with her. So with these type of students, is it the same thing as like having them do things hands on, or just giving them some things to keep their hands occupied as they're like listening? Is that like the same thing? If that makes sense. Hello.
I don't know if it got disconnected with her or something, but I would think it's the same thing that she was saying
I I'm
with the
sorry.
body.
I didn't
That's
have
okay.
my volume on, but go ahead, Miss Hill. I'm listening.
Oh, I was just answering for you a little bit.
Go ahead. I got you.
Like
I
hands
need
on with like skills. Like, like say for instance, we're putting ourselves in the cosmetology aesthetic classroom. Hands on meaning, y'all know what I mean, like versus giving them something to fidget with. Like, are those two one and the same?
yes. And you can and I didn't use that as a reference, but I always use that as a reference to if I'm teaching adults in the classroom, I just don't tell them I'm using the same concept as if they were kids in a daycare. All right. Um, put them something with in their hands while you're trying to teach them something. Start with something small and then or connect the dots. Like I love Legos, and y'all, my niece who's 22, she just said, "Oh, I need to give me a new set of Legos." I said, "What?" And I'm whispering because I'm like, "Where is she?" But I said, "Oh, she still needs connective tools," and so she's super super smart, and she's a hairdresser. And I said, "She's kinetic, she's bodily."
Mhm.
When I tell you her form of love is when she comes in, she's gonna put all of her body on you. And so sometimes they just need a hug along with some tools that's gonna get them to the next thing. So
Mhm. Got
I would
it.
put it together. And here's another thing I would say, and I use it as a joke to kind of break the ice in the classroom. And I tell people, but this is real. Stop. I can't tell people what to do, but as a joke, stop getting mad at your kid or sister or brother when they don't do what you ask them to do after the first time. Because what happens, they really only receive 25% of what you're actually telling them to do. So in
Mhm.
order for them to get it and move on it, you're gonna have to say it 3 to 4 times.
Mhm.
So I'm helping somebody from getting a whoop. Okay.
Makes
So
sense.
I always tell them that. But if you definitely pick these up and just kind of look and see like what kind of learning styles and identify that to the teacher, period. If you identify that to the teacher, and that's when you can understand if the teacher just teaching on one vibration, or is
Mhm.
she noticing what's going on, because they should be noticing and adapting as well, because we're all using the same teaching methods. We're
Mhm.
just in the beauty realm and they're over here.
Yeah.
Um, and my mom just had a series of strokes, and she was functioning, still functioning. We didn't know about it. And so one progressed one day and just got to a point where we just had other issues going on. And it threw her into vascular dementia. And
Mhm.
so they said vascular dementia is, of course, for her age, she's too young to be, to have this naturally thing that probably will happen later in some people. So she's not moved into Alzheimer's, but those strokes were damaging her brain. And so she also was dealing with a circulatory issue, and the antibiotics and stuff like that, it was just causing progression in the vascular dementia. So when she stopped remembering certain things or people, we would come back around and I'll say, this doctors, what can we do? What can we do? And he said, he wanted, and I'm looking for a tool. I went on Amazon and I had to order these dementia tools and blankets.
Mhm.
And it allowed her to do different buttons. And I'm going to share the screen. So hold on one moment. And there's a kid learning part of Amazon as well. So sometimes, we just got to do a little something different if we have to order something. Like these little puzzles and stuff helps them remember stuff and connect. It helps them bring things back together. Um,
Mhm.
Taking these and putting them on the right, you're like, this is preschool. But when I tell you, my mom has now started to, when I testimony, I feel like it's reversing, because early on, what we did, we made sure that she never forget how to put things together.
Mhm.
And what I've done lately, um, like these little puzzles here. But what I've done lately, my mom used to always like to journal. Okay. She loves to journal and she loves to cursive write. And she has the best handwriting ever. So we started leaving um, journals, just journal entries, like love notes to her. And I say, do you want your journal? And she would read it. So now her reading is, you were like, what? She can remember the words, she can read. And I said, let me see your signature. Show me that signature, girl. And that signature is strong as ever.
Mhm.
So,
Amazing.
but sometimes there can be attention things. So she responds to TV, she responds to music. So now we use those things to help her get back to where she is. And this is what I bought. I bought her. And so her learning how to put all of this together and feeling textures, that's the first thing we bought. And I got this idea from what I used to put on the table in the classrooms with the students. So it helped. And let me see if I could do this here. Is she a music person?
Oh my gosh, my baby, yes. And now that we're talking about all this, she's so touchy-feely with me too. Like I just think that might totally be her learning style. And I never really realized that until,
Yeah.
talking about this tonight. So I'm like, maybe she not.
Okay.
Maybe it's not that she just not paying attention to me. It's just it helps her maybe stay focused. I don't know. But it's
But I'm
that's
telling you, she's paying attention to you. I'm in her corner tonight. She when and when they we all know how important it is when they go in for a hug, give it to them. You know,
uh,
they just
oh cool.
feel that. And I be telling my niece, get your things off of me. She's 22. And I'm like, get them big things off of me. And I just sometimes just fall in because that's her connecting, that's her. Let me give you a hug. You're 22, but they still have this learning style, you know?
Okay.
So I would go through and find the more mature things. So this is stuff like this I would have, but they were only like $20. I would have stuff like
Mhm.
the table. And by the time I got to teaching, the barbers had made so much stuff, you know? This is the type of stuff I would have on an adult table.
Okay.
I didn't want them to feel kitty, too kitty. And so, but they had some amazing things. And then I would say, well, hold on, what y'all make? It's 45 minutes. Time for us to take a break. What have y'all made? And we would get the laugh just off of the stuff that they had made. And it was like a safe space for everybody,
Yeah.
and especially with barbers being in the class. Here it is right here. With barbers being in the classroom, I need to buy some more of these. This is one of the things that they use.
Is this something that you kind of just sit there and then you just watch and see who naturally gravitate towards it, or do you verbally tell them that they're allowed to?
I just, yeah, it's a part of the classroom. I don't say too much, especially in the beginning when I have a new class. I just see who gravitates towards it and see what they built. And in any group, I'm gonna put it in the middle of the table in a bowl,
Mhm.
and it's for anybody. And sometimes I may put a few stress balls out there, especially for my person who just wants to work by themselves. Just get them a stress ball, and they're working, but they're squeezing that ball. So they're using their
Mhm.
brain and they're squeezing that ball, So it's just observation. And like I said, beauty educators or any educator, we just own just a whole nother level. Like you guys have
Mhm.
stepped into something where you could teach anybody anything,
Mhm.
just because you have identified how they learn and cater your information to how they learn. And that's something that every educator should be doing. And what I found when I started sharing that with my nieces and my sisters, that they were, some teachers were just doing the least,
Mhm.
and then when we identified the learning style, that's when they tried to do a little bit more. But we knew we had to do some work at home, because their needs were not being met, um, at the school. So, yeah.
Mhm.
So straw construction toys, 1,000-piece building, $31. These straw things, they're building so much. I just keep that in a bowl in the classroom. And whenever they're in a group, just put the bowl in the middle of the group. It's going to help somebody push out some creativity.
Mhm.
And I don't need that phone pulled out. So I just do that in place of having to tell them, put that phone down, put that phone down, put that phone down. So I do that.
Have you
And
ever found that it can be a distraction for some and like and focus for others? Or have you like noticed that most people they're still able to learn and retain information while they're doing that stuff?
what I found is that the ones that need it, they gravitate towards it. The ones that
Mhm.
don't, they don't touch it.
It's with it. Got you.
Yeah.
And I'm a
They
questions person, y'all. I ask a lot of questions and
and
stuff.
I
So.
like questions. And I like the questions. That's the thing. How do you also implement learning unless you understand it? But
Mhm.
yeah, I like the questions. Um, every class needs to have at least four. So if you put that out there, you've taken care of the bodily, the kinesthetic.
Mhm.
Have you noticed the videos of the greeting in the morning in the classrooms?
Uh-uh.
So they have these TikTok videos where teachers will post greeting their students in the morning. And
Oh
now,
yeah.
yeah, that asks them, do you want a hug or do you want a handshake? And some of them want the hug. That's the identification of the kinesthetic bodily student as well, of their
Okay.
learning. And some students could be a little mixed. So as they get older, they could be a little mixed. But I found with adult learners, I meet them where they are and then just say, hey, come up. I don't try to announce the tool or anything. I just leave it there. And sometimes when we in the first week of class, I want to understand who they are. I tell them if you're such and such, this is what that's for, and then I move on. I don't want
Mhm.
it to feel like I'm babying them or putting them back in a baby aspect when they are adults. So I
Gotcha.
want them to have make the decision. I don't have to make all the decisions for them. So it's there if they want it. It doesn't. And also, I had to tell my teachers, it shouldn't bother you. Um, my teacher was doing a virtual class, and she said, "Yes, the uniform is. We're in the building, no hats. But this young lady had a hat on. Her screen was on. She was following that rule. She had her uniform on. Her screen was on, and she was doing her work. She was participating, but the instructor said that she did not like her having the yellow hat on. She said, could we go into a breakout room and I'll tell you about my hat? Um, she said, but I don't want to miss class in order for me to participate. Can I tell you about my hat away from the class? The instructor did not want to do that. So she kind of felt like her busting her out in front of everybody was on one side, just a one-sided thing. It was embarrassing. But on the other side, the young lady had the hat on because she was in a domestic violence fight that morning and she was trying to hide something.
Wow.
And that's why she wanted to speak to the teacher away from everybody else. But I told the teacher, I said, I know there's rules, but sometimes we got to use discernment. You got to say, okay,
Mhm.
yeah, let me step aside. Hey guys, I'll be back in 5 minutes. No big deal. But we took an hour, almost 30 minutes away from them learning just to talk about a yellow hat and to
Wow.
apologies. So sometimes we have to figure out what battles we're going to do, but when we do need to step aside, we just address them separately from everyone else. But I never had a problem with having these out, and the ones that need it, they gravitate to it. The ones that are more visual, they run get mannequins. They
Mhm.
they want to do something every day. Um, they want to watch a video or something. And if they are pulling their phones out, you go find the video, find us a YouTube for the day that complements our practical. And that student's like, okay, and I make them go to the board and whatever we're working on, their job, our social media manager that day is to find us a video that complements what we're talking about. Now the student is involved. Okay. Now the person is using the phone for a learning environment and it's a win-win.
Mhm.
So um it's just people are made differently also. So like I said, I have a lot of different teaching styles that I do. So I don't do a whole lot of I'm the boss and I'm the boss of you type of mentality. I don't do that. And I've never liked that. So we just have to figure out, what we're doing now. But I just wanted to show you that part, and then we'll move into our study, our skin. Oh, I don't want to. Skin analysis is for the next class, but that's what we got. I want to go into some questions really quick, and I want to talk about educators who how you understand the questions. You got to understand what your questions are asking. The questions for your state board test is not written on an 8th grade level. Milady, the textbook itself for students is written on an 8th grade level. Okay. Your book, for some reason, is written on a higher level. So we have to always review our questions and then make sure all of our answers are the most reasonable answers. This is one thing I wanted to check out, and it says the master educator. This is a multiple choice question, and your assignment going forward for the week is to create a 5-question test. All right. With you creating a 5-question test, it needs to include multiple choice, and it also needs to include either a true false, a short essay, or fill in the blank. Okay. Those are pretty much traditional ways that a person would be evaluated. All right. Multiple choice, fill in the blank, essay question, or true false. All right. So those are 4. All right. And looking at the true false, it's a 50-50. Okay. The key thing for any of it is for you to study any terms that are in bold. Okay. Study any terms. And so when you see terminology you've never heard before, you go through these study guides and you see a term, that's where we need to come back to the table and say, let's break this down. All right. I wanted to look at this study guide here, and I wanted to answer, let's go over the first 5. All right. This is for instructors. When you're going over this and something does not click, you need to highlight it. You're always going to need a highlighter. Okay. When you're going over something and it feels like you've lost the message, you're lost what the question is asking, you need to highlight. What's normally happening, the question could have 2 parts to it. One part could just be to be a filler, and some people say to throw you off, but it could be a filler. It's just giving background. Okay. And then another part of the question is actually asking you for the answer. So you knowing your terms and having great understanding, you'll be able to do anything. So let's look at the first 5. And last thing I was going to say, there is a STEM, STEM, in each question. STEM, STEM. The STEM of the question is the one thing that changes this from true to false, or it's the one thing that connects with your answers. Okay, the STEM. All right. My 6 o'clock student says she can't join class, but it's okay. So let's look at here. The master educator will become knowledgeable in a variety of learning profiles and models, as well as the use of lectures, multiple intelligence, testing modes, demonstrations. Okay. Let's think about what we've been going over. The master educator will become knowledgeable in a variety of learning profiles and models, as well as the use of lectures, multiple intelligence, testing modes, or demonstration. What do you guys think? Which one?
Multiple intelligence.
There you go, Ms. Hill. Multiple intelligence. I was also going to say pick 2 that's wrong and get them out the way. Okay. But multiple intelligence. And I just went over those 8 learning styles. Those are called multiple intelligence. Okay. It says the master educator. We have to become knowledgeable in that variety of learning profiles. This is where instructors or educators in schools and classroom are different from individuals in our field who are considered platform artists. Now, if you are the educator and the platform artist, you'll win. That's a killer combination. But the way that you teach in the classroom at a trade show is not the same way that you teach in front of students in a day-to-day classroom. It's more detailed, man, it's more work, But for me, I had about 10 years under my belt before I even started platform artistry. And my students, every day that I was in the classroom, I considered it practice. Oh, I'm going to the stage. So what I need to do, I just need to practice how I'm gonna handle it. That was me. I just knew I was going in a different direction. So I was using them as just little guinea pigs. I was practicing all my stage stuff on in that classroom. And I took to the stage, I took multiple intelligence. So I could see puzzling and see different learning styles on people in the audience, and it would cause me to say, what's wrong? What do you don't understand? How can I help you? And that really helped build my brand and knowledge base as well. So connecting the two is amazing. Multiple intelligence. This makes us become very, very observant of people and interaction. We become very, very observant because our goal is to find out where that person, what line are they on, and how do we bring them up to the line we want them to be. Okay. When number two, an individual's favored or preferred method of thinking, understanding, and processing information is referred to as the student's personality, intelligence, learning style, or sequence of learning. Which one of these we have not talked about? Just which one of these you have not? Have we talked about sequence of learning?
I was just going to say that's the one that we haven't talked about.
Yeah, X that out because it's one of those fillers. And listen to the question. An individual's favored, this is how they prefer to think, understand, process information. That's all of that is considered learning. How a person thinks, how they understand and process the information, that is learning. Okay. And so an individual's favorite or preferred method of thinking, understanding, and processing information is referred to as the student's what? What do you guys think?
The learning style.
Correct. The learning style. You're amazing. That is amazing. Number three, it is believed that 75% of teachers today present material in a manner that is abstract, analytical, compassionate, or scientific.
Mm,
I'm gonna go with analytical.
B,
Yeah,
yeah, I think so.
yes, I stumbled on that word earlier. Y'all remember? And it talks about teachers. Go back into your chapter 4 PowerPoint when you go in your study time. It is analytical. So this question comes from chapter 4. Number 1 comes from chapter 4. Number 2, all that comes from chapter 4. So number 3 is B. Number 4, research tells us that we must integrate teaching strategies that meet the needs of more multicultural student body with a variety of learning styles, journal activities, workbook activities, or worksheets.
Learning style.
Learn styles.
Yeah, you're right. It says research tells us that we must integrate teaching strategies. Those are, yeah, that's when you have to do your lesson plan, but you got to make sure you got a game that includes music. Make sure that you get the students up. So you're putting them in groups to do something. What other activities they could do, with Jeopardy or something of that nature. This is where we're adding our activities to match the students that we have in the classroom. So we're integrating teaching strategies that meet the needs of more multicultural student body. What's a multicultural student body? What does that look like? And there's no right or wrong answer. What do you guys think that looks like?
Um, Just students like different backgrounds, like cultures are different, like
Yep.
it's kind of self-explanatory.
There you
Yep. Their
go.
nationalities.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're black and brown, and sometimes people that look like us are attracted to clean with us,
Mm-hmm.
and we have individuals that don't look like us also in the classroom or don't speak our language, what do you think our job is to do?
Um,
They make them comfortable with the way we teach, where it would reach them as well, where they don't feel like they're in a foreign place.
There you go. There you go. Our job is, although we're comfortable and we're naturally attracted to people that look like us, and I don't say, for example, sometimes white people are attracted to white people, sometimes black people are attracted to black people.
mhm.
Some places I travel, I when I see people that look at me, I was like, hey, and I be, oh, I saw five. you know, that's just me. But I enjoy being in different cultures. So when I do see somebody look at me, I was like, oh my goodness, we in here. But in the classroom, we had an instance, and I have a Spanish a history with having Spanish classes, all Spanish classes, and at this one time we had a mix of American and Spanish students, English speaking and Spanish. The teacher drew more to the English speaking students, and the Spanish speaking students didn't say anything. I just noticed they hovered in a corner and they was just like doing what they could do, and I was like, that's not gonna work. The
Yes.
liaison came in, is the person that helps the Spanish students integrate into the classrooms and virtually. She came in, her observation was the teacher is not giving directions or anything to them. She's just showing them how to do stuff and not explaining it because she doesn't speak their language. The job was for you to explain and teach anyone that comes in here. So it's the teacher's responsibility to download Duo and learn some Spanish. It is a teacher's responsibility to learn French if there's a French student in there. You got to be able to take your translator and it needs to translate everything you say in English to those students. Even if you have to have time for this and then say, I'm going to take time for these students. And I prided myself in making sure that my Spanish students had just as much attention as anybody else. That's why I hired the liaison. And so the liaison had to be in that classroom and translate what needed to transpire between from directions to how to's, communication between that teacher, and then that teacher, if they wanted to keep their job, you got to download an app because it's something you have to do. And
Mhm.
so we provided the liaison, but the liaison, it was an admin person. She did enrollment for Spanish students. That's amazing. I love her. She's my favorite person to do any admin, anything. And I'm so thankful for her observation because we found a broken link. And so now that teacher is saying, oh, I can articulate this in Spanish. And most of the time, we just have to set the standard. So we needed her to adapt. We needed her to find a way to bring them in because they are also part of the classroom. And at the end of the day, they're paid in cash tuition was paying the payroll. Let's just keep it real.
Mhm.
And so I just, there's no way I can let you favor one and then not pay attention to anybody else. That's just not what we were gonna do. Um, I've had classrooms with their African students, Indian students. I just had a wave of Indian students come in, and I love it because I've never really seen Indian in beauty. And for them to say, I want to come to cosmetology school, I want to be an esthetician, they graduated, they picked up on, they were some of the best students, but they brought culture into the classroom, which we gave them an opportunity to show in your culture, how do you prepare for weddings? What's a natural facial routine in your culture? And it just made the classroom it brought the classroom up because my African American students showed them how to do things, and then they came in to show, and it was just a respect across the board for just culture. And I absolutely loved it. So sometimes the facilitator, the leader, has to be the one to step out and bring the cultures together because they're literally going to go into their corners and you got to break them corners up. Okay. And so I absolutely love it. We even had a fashion show, a wedding, mock wedding, where you could dress how your culture would dress. If you were getting married and you had to do hair, that's how we made competition fair. Okay. That gave them the freedom to express who they were in their everyday and they didn't have to conform. So that was, our way of just bringing everything in. So spending a little bit more time on breaking things down, and so we can bring everybody together. Number 4 and 5, and then we'll close out. Research tells us, oh yeah, that was integrating. Number 5, those learners who process information through what they see are referred to as. They process information through what they see. Is it sight learners, eye catchers, visual learners, or video learners?
Visual.
Yeah, I
Visual
was
learners.
gonna say visual learners.
There you go. And really, eye, sight, all of those mean the same thing, but your book has been referencing visual learners. That's the proper terminology for it. So number 5 is C. Okay. Let's just finish this little page and I'm gonna let you go. 6, learners who like to process information, that's learning, through what they hear and also like to talk things through are known as, okay, cultural learners, auditory learners, audible learners, or ear-piercing learners. 2 of those you ain't never seen before.
Mm-hmm. It's between audible and auditory.
Yes. Traditionally, B is how they would explain those who like rhythm and who have to hear stuff. And they'll say that one more time. They
Mhm.
process information out what they hear and they like to talk it. So they may say, "Can you repeat that?" And then they'll say, "Okay, I got it." Then what I like to do, I will repeat it and ask them to repeat it back to me. I
Mhm.
need what I'm giving them to register. They have to receive the information, process it. And if you got to go further and say, "Show me," go to the board and show me. Sometimes, or in your own words. This is how I get students to just kind of relax a little bit from test anxiety. I would say, in your own words, what do you think? In your own words, how would you remember this? Can you summarize this? No right or wrong. How do you learn it? How do you perceive it? And a lot of times that clicks with students because the pressures of them making good grades or bad grades is, pretty much taken away.
Mhm.
Number 7, and we're closing out. Processing information by the physical experience of doing and touching and manipulating things for themselves is preferred by olfactory learner, audio learner, visual learner, or kinesthetic learner. 2 of these, you already know what I'm going to say. We have never discussed. Let's read it again. We're learning, so that's processing information by the physical experience of doing and touching, bam, and manipulating things, building something. Okay, what is it? We spent some time on it. I know Erica got this.
Kinesthetic.
There you go.
I got them.
You were waiting on that one, weren't you?
Oh, wait a minute.
But, but do you see how they broke it down? Only thing
Mm,
we got to do is take a little time in reading that, y'all. Okay.
mm,
Basically, these questions, if you know your intelligence without reading anything else, you can answer all these questions. So, how this is going to go, you'll probably have chapter 4 in the beginning of the study guide. Then you'll come with chapter 5 in the middle, and then chapter 6 on down. We will continue to work through the study guide, guys. And then I will send you the next week assignments as well. But I really wanted you guys to say, look, this weekend, get in this study guide. Before now, the answer key is in the back. The answer key, I ain't gonna never leave you hanging. The answer key is, and it's 121 questions. I know you thought, this cause what the what? But you do have the answer key. And what's cool, Erica, if I may give a suggestion, let your daughter know you have school too. You got to study too. Can she be your coach? And give her the answer key and let her give you some of what you give her.
Yep. You know, I did that once when her little cousin was over here, and I had her help her little cousin with her work. And her little cousin is like a grade, like maybe was she a grade or two under her? And I sat up there and I watched her, and it makes sense when I saw that you said 90% of what you teach you retain. And I was like, okay, so I that was good to have her teach her little cousin because she was kind of learning still too. So it's all coming together for me.
There it is. It's all coming together. And I'm excited about it. Guys, if any of these questions stumble you over the weekend, feel free to just give me a call. Otherwise, I'm going to see y'all Monday. We do have class
All
Monday, right?
right.
Hold on, I got one question, Miss
It's
Scott.
my birthday. I gotta come.
For
No.
from our homework assignment, with the 5 questions, I know you told us you named out the 5 ways, the
Okay.
true or false, the essay. I could just do each, like one of each thing that you said.
Yeah, think about this. Let me ask, do y'all want more questions so you can get a good variety? Do you want more questions or you want to keep it at 5?
It doesn't matter. I just want, well, if we do, we could do 10. That way we have 2 of each one.
Yeah.
I'm cool
Um,
with that.
okay, do 10 questions. Um, when it's time for stay board, when you have to do the practical one, this is for you guys. You have to create a test with at least 2 different styles of question. So you implementing as many styles as you want is just helping you on the back end, okay? So let's do 10, and that way you can do multiple questions. Pick a subject. Erica, if you I sent you the portal information, you just gotta click it and make sure you have the password and the username, okay?
Does a lady one?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I've
If
been there. I just don't know how to operate it.
okay. Hold on one moment. Then I'm gonna let you go. But yes. Learning how to do the variety of those questions, and really it could be one thing. It could really be one thing, and then you can take that one question and break it down into 3, 4 different ways. But let me go into SEMA real quick.
Oh, yes, please.
You said yes, please.
Yes, please. I've been looking at so much stuff. I'm like, what is that?
Did did they have mind out when you came through with your aesthetic training, or you just had the book?
No, we had physical books and then we did a lot of Google workspace maybe. We did all of our
Okay,
work like through Google Drive, I think.
okay, I get it. I get it. Um, and so some people did Google, some people did Mind Tap. SEMA is during the pandemic. We went to Mind Tap, and so Mind Tap was like their first experience of having online courses. And
Mm.
then they elevated Mind Tap. They put all the workbooks and stuff into SEMA. So now where we used to have to pay for everything separately, everything is all like boom boom together. Um,
Oh,
Let me put my password in. I gotta put the password because I'm in a different browser and I gotta put the right password in. Okay, copy. Remember me, please.
And so typically, how long would the Zooms be?
Typically about an hour.
Okay. My birthday is
We
Monday, but I'm a log on. I think I might be going to dinner or something, but it'll be later.
When is that?
Monday. That's my birthday.
Okay, happy birthday. I can we'll record it again because we're recording this one if you want. Just hang out for your birthday and we'll just
I'm gonna get on. Is
that.
it is that what do we do? 5:30 on Mondays?
Yes. Let's go check Miss Hill and see if you can do 5:30 on Mondays. We'll
I'm
set
fine. Mondays is good for me, so 5:30 is fine. Or whatever
that.
time
Okay. Let's do it for an hour, guys. 5:30 on Monday. And have we let me share the screen really, really quick.
Okay.
All right. So when you come on, these are all the courses we currently teach. So you get to see what our
Mhm.
teachers see now.
Okay.
Cosmetology. This is the course breakdown. You guys can use this to help with your theory, but this is just for the last course. We also
Mhm.
teach aesthetics. So if you're comfortable with aesthetics, there you go. You're going to be your training, even though you have these hours, they're going to go towards an aesthetics license, Miss Edwards. And so all
Mhm.
of your things that you possibly could teach should come out of aesthetics, okay? Or
Okay.
the lashes. So all of these are courses, and you just click the
Okay.
course that matches you. And then we have a nail course. And so I tell my teachers too, if you need to refresh on something, take advantage
Mhm.
of this access because we have
Yeah.
tons of videos that will help you with your how-tos, okay?
Okay.
So let's look at aesthetics. Just click aesthetics. Once you open it, look at all these chapters. So
So
as a
that's the
teacher,
book. It's just the virtual.
yeah, and so you click here, you have both of the books. So now,
Mhm.
my lady has two books for each course. So the foundations you'll find in every course, and then this is all like the hands-on fundamental stuff. But
Okay.
foundations is your sanitation, dress for success, communication for success, that type of chapters. And then you go down here to fundamentals. Now we're talking about advanced treatments, topics, facials, ingredients, all the good stuff with hands-on is this
Mhm.
book here. So you have
Okay.
access to that. Um, and if you don't want to go through the book, let's see, go back. Chapters. If you don't want to go through the book, you can go straight to each chapter. All right.
Mhm.
So you have access. The gray part is the first book. The second book, you'll see chapter one again is the book with all of the hands on, you know, all the way
Okay.
down. Even down to the comprehensive exam. And then y'all see this instructor materials. This is a cheat code for y'all. Okay. Click it.
Mhm.
When you click instructor materials, it has the lesson plans, the breakdown for all of for 13 chapters. All right.
Okay.
Um, and so if you have to go in and learn something, I'm gonna click here, instructor materials. See that chapter two lesson plan? Download this.
Mhm.
But it is your lesson plan you have to build, but it's just more intense. It's giving you objectives. It's telling you where you're going to teach it in the classroom. How long am I going to teach? 1 to 2 hours. What do the student need to complete before they get to this chapter? Chapter one. Okay. Chapter two. Here's an activity. Conversation starters. Um, all of this. These are the activities. Now, what these companies do is like provide everything the instructor needs.
Mhm.
You can use the pre-made lesson plans, but most schools that get financial aid will want you to add to these, all right? Because they understand, NACAS understands that everybody is not going to do all of this stuff. This is just gives you some ideas on how to teach this lesson. So they will want you also to add on the slide presentation. This goes with the slide presentation. Every chapter has a slide presentation. All right. So you can print this off. And as you watch the PowerPoint, see it says slide 4 and 5. If I'm a virtual, you guys was in the classroom. If we were on slide 4 and 5, I would have my notes talking. These are my talking points. These are my teaching points that I would have on the other side of that presentation. So if you're showing a slide, it's telling you exactly what you should be teaching on that slide.
Mm-hmm.
Cheat code. So it's going to help you with organization of your lesson plans. It is very complex, so I do not expect y'all to get this complex. We're going to do 1 to 2 page lesson plans, okay? And we're not trying to teach a whole chapter. You pick something out of a chapter that you want to teach, and we begin to build from there. I want to show you one more thing. This is aesthetics. Let's just pick, our students are on chapter 5. Our skincare students are on chapter 5, right? So when you click 5, you see everything the students have access to. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So Rubik's, it says download Rubik's. Okay. There's going to be a chapter for you guys that talks about evaluation. How do we evaluate if the students are doing what they're supposed to be doing or if they're catching on, they're learning? For those mathematical and logical students that need to see how well they're doing and need to know what steps, see this? This is the Rubik's. It's already built for you. The procedure 5-1, performing a skin analysis. When we watch them do it, we either grade them competent, they're doing a great job, it needs work, and what do they need to work on? So when we're talking about we're stable or prepping our students, this is what I'm going by. And in real time, I'm telling them this is what you need to work on. So when our students go to the salon or go to the spa, my instructors that have to go check on them, they may tell them, pull a mannequin out. I want to see what you learned. Pull a mannequin out. I want to see you do a skin analysis, or I want to see you do it on a real person. And they're going to grade them on how well they did, what areas they need to work on. It's the only way for a student to get better. You guys have all access to these items. All right.
Okay.
And from video, and here's a video. There you go. So Monday, I'll show you a few more things, but if Facebook, and we're gonna close out because we've been on here too long. But if you're on Facebook, it's my Facebook. We have private groups for educators.
Okay.
DCI Academy virtual training. That's all my students and teachers. So if you click here, just ask to join. We'll bring you in. We have 29 members. These are students and substitute
We
teachers
do here right now.
and teachers. So most of the time, these are current active students, and all updates, everything that we need to talk about is in the group. All right. That's just one. Then I also have one for teachers. Ask to join that group as well. DCI Academy instructor training. So this is only for instructors, current students, and those who have graduated. So we have 42 members here. And if you look on here, we have files with study material, and I'm gonna just take you to this one place real quick. Files. So this is all for our instructors and for studying purposes. Everything you need to pass your exam. Look at all these PowerPoints. Look at all these study guides.
Perfect.
All of that is in files, okay? So even if you go out of town, you ain't got nothing but your phone and you want to study, go to Facebook, go into your group and click files, and you'll find the study materials, okay?
Okay, that's awesome.
We will continue to review. Celebrate your pre-birthday weekend. And if you have any questions about anything, I'm gonna work on your clocking. I want to make sure you're clocking in as well. So you may hear from me before the weekend is over, just to make sure you're clocking in and everything is all good with you, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Happy early birthday.
All right.
Thank you. And Miss Trish, are you
I-
available? Because I want to chat with you if you are available.
Yeah, I'm available.
Okay, I'm gonna call you.
Okay.
Yeah, have a great